Okay. Right, so one more time, all right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and also good evening, all right. So I'm not going to take a long time, but after this, we can have a session, Q&A session, especially if you or your group have problems regarding about what kind of information or how you want to structure your presentation for the final assessment. So for the final assessment, planning to have it face to face. Okay. Um, but if okay, there's something like maybe there are some requests or we have something going on, then we will have it online lah. But the initial plan should be face to face, right? So to recap back about this oral presentation, okay, so it consists of how many percent for oral presentation? Anybody know? Anybody remember?
25.
Yes, true. So for every each assessment, we have 25%. Okay. And the basic time for oral presentation is still the same like the previous assessment is within 20 to 25 minutes, right? So the duration for each person, okay, should be around five, okay, 5 minutes plus minus, right? Approximately. Okay, so getting back to the assessment, right? If you check back the guideline, it's basically you presenting about the proposal, okay, which is basically based on what we have discussed in the meeting, okay. So previously, I asked you guys to prepare a proposal, right? Uh, then eventually you will have to do it in a meeting, okay, which is the assessment, okay, right, assessment. All right, so you discuss things about discussing about the proposal, right? And eventually, the next thing that you will have to do is you need to present, okay? You present the outcome, right? So you present the outcome uh, of your discuss proposal in the meeting, okay? So this is basically the flow of what you have done and what you're going to do for the final week. Okay, so you have done this proposal and you have also done this meeting, and next one is this one. Right? You have to present. So presentation. Okay, so presentation is basically group. Okay, still group, but you will be assessed individually, right? So it's the same thing like before. Although you are in your group, but I will still look at every each one of you. Okay. So then based on your performance, then I'll give you appropriate marks based on what you deliver. Okay. So before I touch on the things for your, I mean like for about how you can basically present. Okay, give me a moment here. Need to check. And if you have any question, you can ask me if I'm in the midst of explaining. You can turn on your mic or you can type your question, right? Right. So, okay. So previously, during the meeting assessment, right? So we have agenda, right? So when it comes to oral presentation, you're not going to focus on all of the agendas that you have had discussed in the meeting. For example, we have the agenda for apologies, right? Then you have, if you have previous of minutes, example, right? And matters arising, okay, all this, and then you have your uh, problem solutions and all that. So those are the main agendas, right? And then you have any other business, right? And the final one should be date for next meeting. Okay, so this one and also this one. Okay, there is no need for you to present. Okay, so apologies, previous minutes, matters arising, any other business in date for next. Sorry, any other business? Yes. So this one should be, but this one is optional if okay, this one is optional if you have it. Okay, if you have AOB. If you have AOB, then you can present this one. So this is the thing that I want to explain. Focus on the structure of your presentation. So for main agenda, for example, it's based on what you have presented and sorry, based on what you have discussed in the previous meeting. Maybe one of the agenda is, for example, maybe it can be based on tentative, right? Okay, okay. Maybe if it's one of your agenda. This is just an example, yeah. Okay. Example. Okay. And then the next one could be what speakers, budget. What else? Place. One more if you have it. If you have anything. Tentative speakers, budget, place. Maybe some maybe equipment, for example. Okay. So these are examples. Okay. And then every each one of you have 5 members. Okay, every each group have 5 members, so you need to divide tasks equally among yourselves. All right, so for example, when it comes to tentative, maybe one person can take this, right? Speakers, maybe also one person can take that one as well. Okay, same thing. uh, Maybe this one also the same thing, also the same thing, and also the same thing. Okay, so if we have less than these 5 agenda, for example, okay, then you need to check back your agenda, right? So you need to look, maybe tentative, you have a very long list of tentative, then maybe 1 or 2 person can explain. Okay, maybe you have lots of things in budgets, for example, then 1 or 2 person can explain. Okay, so and then place. Okay, but what what um what if, okay, what if we have three only agenda? Okay, 3 agenda items. Okay, or maybe you have only 3 or 4, right? So then that goes back to your role, to your role of in the group or in the company or that organization. So for example, you have only maybe a few. Maybe for example, um, you want to open up cafe, for example. Okay, and then you have problems with the staff. Okay, lack of staff, and then you have problem with sponsorship, right? Or maybe you have problem with what else? Lack of staff, sponsorship, and maybe budget as well, right? Maybe the food. Okay, so if you have three, then you need to divide tasks. Okay, divide the task equally among yourselves, right? Okay, sorry. Divide the task equally among yourself. All right. Okay. So you can do things like assigning one or two here, right? The same thing, one or two, or one or two. So make it five. All right. But another question is, okay, can you add another thing for your presentation, right? Maybe can you add more points? Can you add more points? Because we only discussed about this, right? The answer is yes. Okay, but the points, okay, the points must be based on what we have discussed. So, for example, you have these 3 points, okay, lack of staff, sponsorship, and budget, and then you want to find more points to talk about for your presentation, right? And you think that you can add something based on these 3 points. Maybe, for example, you can talk about how do you run that program, right? For example, okay, how do you run that program? Okay. Also, you can talk about the um, limitation or how you overcome, right? So all this, right? All these are very the things that you can basically do, all right? When it comes to you presenting your points, okay? So this is to the initial thing for me for my explanation is to make you understand about how you can basically structure the points first, okay? Because some groups they have less than five agenda, right? And then some groups have more agendas, right? Then you basically need to allocate the points or agenda that you have to organize them in the presentation in your presentation in a better structure of your presentation. Okay, so the question is, right, how do you present, right? So how do you present this? Yeah, so this is the question. Okay, so when it comes to presentation, what I notice, okay, is that students tend to read from your script. Okay, so you tend to read from the script. So avoid this. Okay, so you need to avoid reading from your script. But how? Okay, yeah, because this is basically your savior. I mean, like you rely too much on this information. If you have few points, then that's okay. Okay, then you basically need to know what you're talking about. Okay. Okay. So avoid this one. Okay. Anybody know how you can prevent yourself from reading the script? Yes. So you have to present based on your agenda. Okay. This agenda here, okay, is your proposal, right? This is from your proposal to do in an event or project. Okay. And you need to present based on your agenda lah. Okay. So the red color here, so these are not needed for your presentation. Okay, what I want you to present is the main agenda that you have. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about any other business, right? So let's say you have few agendas as well, right? Then you want to then in the meeting you have any other business, so you can actually include this. in your presentation, for points of presentation. So you can allocate this any other business points in your presentation appropriately. Okay. So agenda is the main thing that you discuss. I think some of you may be still confused. What is any other business, right? So any other business is basically new ideas or new suggestion that you have during the meeting. Okay. So let's say you have discussed everything based on your agenda, right? Then suddenly you go to the next agenda, which is any other business. In any other business, you will ask chairperson or chairman or chairwoman will ask the meeting members if they have any ideas, if maybe there's an addition or suggestion. So those points will go to any other business. Okay. So if you have done any other business in your meeting discussion, then you can also include that in your presentation, right? So right, so it should be based on this lah, the agenda. Okay, okay, clear? Or still have anything that you want to ask before I proceed? Any other question? Okay, all right. So I'll continue. Okay, going back to how do you present? Okay, so if you read from the script, okay, I can still see. I mean, like when you are presenting, even if it's online, I can see that your eyes are rolling from top to bottom, looking at things like reading, right? So um, your delivery marks will not be good if you read from the script. Okay, if you read sometimes and checking back about the points, that should be okay. But if you try to, I mean, like read and then you read hastily, okay, um, then you rely too much on the script and that will affect your presentation. Okay, so once it affects your delivery, then it will also affect your language, okay, and how you present, organization, all that. So avoid reading from script. And how do you avoid this? Okay, how do you avoid reading from script? Okay, anybody have any idea how to avoid reading from script? It's a
Memorize the scripts.
memorize. Yeah, memorizing. Okay, can be memorizing.
Can we say in the informal way while presenting?
Informal way. Okay.
I mean like
Um,
informal way.
informal like.
Um, that we used to speak.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
yeah,
You
dia
can
macam bercampur.
mix. Yeah, yeah. You can mix formal and informal. The point is, yes, I understand what you meant. What you meant. Okay. You can. Okay. You can do this, but you need to mix the way you deliver or you speak. So you mix formal and also informal way of speaking, right? Like that, right? So, but then you tend to use informal ways of not too informal, okay, but still, it when you do it like that, you make yourself comfortable, right? So you can apply that. So this one I call it a comfortable way, comfortable way of speaking. Memorizing, okay, but still memorizing will if you forgot something, then you will lack a lot, okay, if you forgot things. because you rely on things that you remember. Okay, so how you can uh, do better if you memorize? Of course, memorizing is important. You want to remember your points. You need to understand. Okay, right. So another thing is that, okay, you need to have enthusiasm. You know enthusiasm, right? Or you don't know enthusiasm? You Enthusiasm means you need to like it. Okay. So how can you like this? Okay, this is an assessment, right? So how can you like this thing, right? Spirit, semangat. Okay, yes. Enthusiasm is semangat as well. Okay, you need to have reasons, okay, for this. Maybe you want to have good marks, right? Maybe you want to do well for your parents, or maybe for yourself because you want to get good results in the future. Then it can maybe help you a lot in the future and everything, all that. Okay. Um, so um, if I mean, like, if you want to do something, okay, another way of thinking is that when you are doing something, okay, it's like you are crafting, okay, meaning to say that you are creating or building something, okay. So it's the same thing when it comes to your assessment, okay. You are basically trying to build yourself, and one way is from the assessments, okay? For example, this assessment oral presentation. So you want to craft something from your assessment, and then you put everything into your assessment yourself and put lots of efforts, okay? Then eventually you will learn how to implement that spirit, the semangat, okay? So that eventually during the assessment, once you put a lot of efforts, okay, memorizing, you design everything, okay? Then you are comfortable, you have the comfortable set of speaking, right? Informal and also formal way, okay? Mixing these two, then it makes you feel comfortable, then yes, then eventually you will have a very good way of delivering your presentation, okay? So that's one way, or several ways for you to avoid reading from script, okay. This is actually very important, okay. This skill doesn't apply only to this assessment, okay. It also applies to your daily life later, especially when you are working. So okay, so getting back to the structure of how do you present, okay. So of course, in the beginning you need to have introduction, okay. So you have to have introduction. The same thing, like normal things that you know, but you sometimes, I think it's because you are too nervous, sometimes you forgot content. So it's these three simple things, okay? Introduction, content and conclusion. Yeah. So these are basically the structure of your presentation. So for introduction, you introduce yourself, okay? And you introduce the topic. Okay, so the topic here is based on your agenda. Okay, so agenda, then you need to choose. For example, go back. We have lots of points, right? Then one person will only take one point. If unless that points have lots of information or things that needs to be discussed or present. So, for example, one person can talk about tentative. Okay, so tentative of, for example, maybe mental health program, for example, okay? So this is your topic, okay? So another thing when it comes to you presenting or do things, okay? This applies for uh all courses as well. Okay, you need to have this attention grabber. All right. So or we can also call this hook. So if you still remember, we can also use this in writing. Okay. And we also use this in speaking. Okay. So when it comes to attention grabber, okay, attention grab here, okay, meaning to say that you want to grab the attention of the audience, all right? So what can you do, right? What can you do? How can you get the attention of the audience, all right? So when it comes to meeting, for example, okay, you can do something. For example, you can display things, display infographics, for example. Infographics, you can display pictures, right? And many things, statistics, facts, a lot of things. Okay, and if, for example, your topic is something about the opening ceremony, for example, okay, if your topic is about opening ceremony, okay, then maybe it's there. Your discussion in the opening ceremony, one of it is about the opening song. Okay, then we can also sing, but not sing the whole song. Wow. Okay, we can sing maybe chorus. Okay, and everything. But normally when it comes to meeting, right? Because this is meeting, so this is basically formal setting. So you can do these kind of things. Okay. So if you're talking about tentative, for example, okay. So one way you can actually um, grab the attention of the audience is to display the tentative. Okay. So in meeting, I mean like in the meeting before, I mean like for this presentation for meeting, oral presentation based on the previous meeting. Okay. So you have the, I think I need to make a table. Uh, yeah. So you have previous. I think I also explained this before. And also you have the after discussion, right? So you have this, for example, and you want to display the previous tentative, okay? And then you have the new tentative here, which is new, right? So then you show, okay? All right. So based on the previous meeting discussion of our proposal, for example, so our previous meeting is based on like this. Then they explain. Okay. Then after the discussion, we have new tentative, which is this, right? If you notice, okay, so this is basically getting the attention of the audience. Okay. Um, yeah, you're trying to getting the attention because by showing this, you already actually yeah, trying to get the attention of the audience into making them looking at the things that you want to say, which is the tentative. So you are making comparison between these two, displaying infographics or information about these two. Okay. If you have posters, then you can also display posters, previous poster and then the new poster. Okay. The same thing with budgets, speakers, the same thing. Okay. You can list out the speakers and then you have this speakers, then you can choose which speakers are the best for your program or event. Okay, so it comes to content. Okay, so it should be based on this. Okay, so this is example, example which is basically based on tentative. So for example, content. Okay, so you compare tentative one and tentative two. All right, so when it comes to content, always ask the WH questions, right? Always use this concept, WH questions, right? So maybe you have made a few changes. Maybe you have made few changes in the tentative. So you have made changes one, changes two, and changes three. Okay. So for changes one, you have made something about maybe the allocation uh of a room, for example. And then for changes two, you have made changes about the time, for example. Okay, schedule. Then changes three maybe about that involves the flow of people, for example. Okay, for example. Okay, these are just example. So allocation room. Okay, why? Why you why you change that room? Okay, what room, for example? Why? What reasons? Okay, so you need to explain. Okay, based on our discussion from the previous meeting, all members agreed that we have changed room A to room B because room A consists of all that to explain. Okay, so it is much better if we use the second room because they are very well equipped with. Let me explain. Okay, same thing with the other things. All right. So you have several points, normally up to 3 points. So this is your point number one. Okay, point number two, and point number three. All right. So these kind of things are the things that you need to say. Okay. So it's up to you on about how you want to basically organize your ideas, right? Then conclusion, do not say a lot of things. Just mention that, for example, so based on the meeting, okay, we have decided to propose to propose that the tentative should be based on what we have uh, planned for the later, for example. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. That's it. So no need to say a lot of things. So we can say a few words, then that's done. All right. So the thing that I'm looking at is, of course, I'm looking at the introduction, all this, content and conclusion, but the most important thing is content. Okay, and of course, uh, introduction as well. So introduction, the key important things is this one. Okay, um, the things that you want to talk about. Um, the the getting attention things, okay, or what I also say, the if it's in writing, we call this thesis statement. Okay, so it's a combination of attention grabber and also your thesis statement, which is your points, because your point is basically based on the tentative one and tentative two, for example. Okay, so then you will explain about the content here, the few changes that you have made, and then why, and the reasons and everything. All right, then you conclude. So that's it for your structure of oral presentation. So remember, the duration for your um for every each one person is 5 minutes or less. Okay, if it's 4 to 5 minutes, should be okay lah. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes still acceptable. Okay, so okay, any question? If you want to ask about your agenda, you can ask. Okay, maybe you want me to explain about how you can structure your agenda for your oral presentation, everything. Okay. All right. Okay, we have a question. If we did not have the second discussion on the tentative, is it acceptable if we refer to the previous discussion? Okay. Second discussion is referring to in the previous discussion. What do you mean? Second discussion on the tentative. Okay, this is your you do not have second discussion. Okay, but you have previous discussion, meaning to say that you have discussed another about the tentative before that. So that's your first discussion, right? So you can just refer back to the see second meeting. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can refer back to your previous discussion. Yes, you can do that. Okay. So of course you need to explain lah, right? Provide the reasons, everything. So it should be based on your previous discussion, the first discussion. Okay. If you have a lot, then you can, yeah, yeah. I think you can, uh, yeah. You should divide the task equally among yourselves. You should know that. Okay. Any other question? Okay, take note of this information. Another thing that I want you guys to know about is the criteria. Yeah, I forgot to explain something of assessment. Okay, so it comes to the criteria of assessment. Let me look at the criteria. Okay, so one thing is that will be assessed is your organization and also your delivery. Sorry, visual aids first. Then your delivery, and then your language. Okay. Organization. Oh, sorry, and also first thing should be your content. Yeah, content, organization, visual aids, delivery, and language equal to your overall success. Okay. So basically, you have this five, and in addition to this, okay. So remember content, organization, visual aids, delivery, language. So that's why I mentioned before. You need to have this enthusiasm, okay. So that you'll have good marks in delivery, okay. Then it will also affect your language, uh, organization, and content, right? So language wise, okay, it's okay if you're, I mean, I know that your English, maybe you think that you do not know lots of words, or maybe you are not comfortable speaking in English, but it's okay. Okay, you can just speak with enthusiasm. Okay, although maybe for now you think that your English is not really that good, it's okay. Okay, just speak. But so far overall, based on your previous assessment, okay, your English is okay, right? uh, you can still improve. So language is something that you will always learn, right? It will not stay static. Okay. Maybe for now, previously you have taken the test, you have maybe uh, lower bands or maybe average bands. Then next time you will take another test, okay? Then eventually we'll get better bands or better results. Should be like that, okay? So do not worry, okay? So the important thing is this one, okay? Of course, content as well. So this is the important things. First thing, content, and content is related to your visual aids, okay? So when it comes to visual aids, uh, you know visual aids, right? What is visual aids? What is that? Anybody know what is a visual aid or visual aids? Visual. What is visual aids? Eye contact. Okay. Eye contact. Eye contact is in delivery. Yeah. Eye contact, body language is in delivery. Yes. Visual aids is like poster, pictures, your presentation slides, all that. Okay. So here this one. Okay. Your presentation. So it can be your slides, can be pictures, um, data, and everything. Okay. So it's very important for you to have this. Maybe previously in the meeting assessment, some groups they do not prepare this. Okay. But for for the next assessment, okay, it, if you do not prepare this one, then you will not get marks for this. Okay. Yes, illustrative, all that. Okay. So for meeting assessment, if you have this, then you have better marks. Okay. So that's why I encourage you guys to have materials, right? Because when during the meeting, you do not just come and talk about things. So if it's like that, then that's more like a casual or informal settings of meeting, right? So that's why it's important for you to have materials and properly discuss things in the meeting. And then you will have to bring that for your presentation. Okay? So that's why I mentioned things like this. So you can illustrate these two different tentatives, the previous one and the new one. Okay? So your visual aid will reflect your content. Okay? This thing, these two things. And also it will also affect your organization as well. Okay, so your delivery, okay, will affect your all this the same thing. Okay, so the key important things is if you have visual aids, it will help you in your content, and also it will help you in your delivery. Okay, so once it helps you in your delivery, it will help you in your language, and it will also help you in your organization. The same thing with visual aids will also help you in your organization and content. Same thing lah. These all things are interrelated with each other. So if you do well with this, then you should be able to get good marks. All right. So do not worry so much about language. Okay. If you manage to deliver well, then you'll still get a good marks for language. Right. Most of you will have average wise language. average to almost to intermediate level of language. Okay, so that's why I stress on this uh, visual aids, content delivery, right? And of course, these things, organization and language as well. So these are very important for you to take note of for your assessment. Okay, so although this is group, okay, but it's still individually assessed, like your meeting assessment. Okay, because you have some of you have different marks from each other in the group assessment. Okay, so it's based on your own individual performance. So group will indicate about this. Okay, things that you have proposed, and then you will have to present. Okay, so anything else? Any question? Any question? Better ask now lah, if you have anything that you want to clarify. Can we replace agenda to a new one? Okay, good question. So what's your previous agenda, Uda? For example, can you give me an example? Your previous agenda? Replace agenda to a new one. Maybe you don't mean by replacing the whole thing. Maybe you want to rephrase, if that's what you meant. Rephrase solutions to problems. Okay. Allocation of task, approval, and sponsorship. Okay. So which of this? So meaning to say that previously you have problems, then you want to change to solutions to problems like that. The original one is solutions to problem. Yeah, can you show me the or the previous? Change it to new idea. So solutions to problems, allocations of tasks, approval, and sponsorships are the original agenda or the new agenda? This one to original, okay. Okay. So you want to change solutions to problems into what agenda? Hmm. Solutions to problem. Oh, okay, okay. Like tentative speakers. You can, okay, as long as it's within the discussion of your meeting, right? For example, the solutions to problems, it includes things like tentative and speakers, okay? So then you want to basically change that to a new, not new idea, it's basically the um you have the ideas, but you just want to state the ideas of your the thing that you have discussed. Okay, so you just want to rephrase. Yeah, so we call that rephrasing. Okay, so you change this into a different words. Okay, but it still consists of similar meanings. So you can do that, no problem. Okay, so allocation of tasks, maybe it includes things like handling speakers or anything. You can change that. You can change the previous words in your agenda into new words, no problem. Okay, so we call that rephrasing or paraphrase. Okay. Okay, so any other questions before all of you clear? Maybe. So Joyce here, right? Joyce, Huda is here, and Charlene. The three of you here, right? Okay. So the rest I'm not sure. So if nothing else, then yeah, I think that's all lah from me. Okay. So except for the three of you, then the rest, I think the rest can, yeah, leave the session lah. So I think that's all from me for tonight. But if you still have any questions that you want to ask, you can WhatsApp me. But it'll still take some time for me to reply. But if you want to meet me in my office, you can still come to my office to consult lah if anything about your assessment and everything. Okay, so all right, I think that's all from me. I think I've covered most of the things, the important things that you need to know for the presentation. All right, so that's all, everyone. Don't forget to sign in the attendance.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
all right. So, looking for Huda, Charlene, and also one more person. I forgot the name.